The stars of the Orion sector were quiet that night. Far from the crowded worlds of the Zarthian Empire, the massive dreadnought Vraxon drifted through deep space on a routine patrol. Its crew was relaxed, their metallic armor shining under the cold lights of the bridge. Nothing ever happened this far from the front lines. The Empire ruled everything within sight, and no one had dared to fight them for hundreds of years. Admiral Korvac stood near the main viewport, his red eyes scanning the endless darkness. "Status report," he asked in a slow, tired voice. "All systems normal, Admiral," replied the officer at the console. "No activity. Space is silent as usual." Korvac gave a small grunt of approval. Silence was peace. Silence was control. The Zarthian Empire had crushed every rebellion, erased every threat, and burned any world that stood against it. To him, silence was proof of power. But deep within the darkness, something was coming. The first alert came from the ship's outer sensors. A small blip appeared on the screen, faint and flickering. The operator frowned. "Admiral, we're picking up an anomaly. Unidentified mass, long-range Sector 9. Korvac didn't even turn around. "Probably debris. Ignore it." "Yes, sir." The officer tried to clear the signal, but the blip grew stronger. It pulsed in slow, steady intervals like a heartbeat. Then, without warning, the ship's main alarm began to howl. "Object is approaching fast," the officer shouted. "Speed impossible. It's breaking every known limit." The bridge turned red as warning lights flashed. Crew members scrambled to their stations. Korvac's eyes widened as the radar filled with a massive shadow. "Put it on screen." The stars outside twisted for a second, then a dark shape emerged from hyperspace. It wasn't Zarthian. It wasn't any design known in the galaxy. It was ancient, angular, and black, like a knife made of metal and hate. The ship drifted in total silence. No lights, no signals, nothing. The crew stared in disbelief. "What kind of ship is that?" one whispered. Korvac's claws tightened around the command rail. "Open communication channel. Identify yourself." No answer. "Send the Imperial code." Still silence. Then suddenly the speakers crackled to life with an old language, rough human words no one had heard for generations. A single message played in a deep, calm voice. "We remember." Every Zarthian froze. The color drained from Korvac's face. Humanity. The species they had wiped out 100 years ago. Impossible. "Fire!" he roared. "All batteries, destroy that ship!" The Vraxon's weapons came alive. Hundreds of plasma bolts shot across the void, but before they could hit, the strange ship shimmered and vanished. For a few seconds, the bridge went quiet again. Then, out of nowhere, a bright blue beam tore through the darkness and sliced the Vraxon's escort destroyer clean in half. "Direct hit! Destroyer Delta is gone. Shields up! Track that ship!" But the mysterious vessel moved like a ghost. It appeared, fired, disappeared, and appeared again in another place. Every strike was perfect. Every shot landed exactly where it would hurt most. The Zarthian dreadnought shook as explosions rippled across its hull. "Who are they?" a crewman shouted. Korvac's voice trembled for the first time in years. "They're supposed to be extinct." The unknown warship suddenly turned its bow toward the Vraxon. Its black surface reflected the fire of battle. Then, without warning, it transmitted another message, one word this time. "Justice." A glowing blue light formed at the ship's center. Energy readings spiked to impossible levels. Korvac screamed, "Evasive action!" But it was too late. A blinding wave of energy hit the Vraxon, tearing through its shields like paper. Systems failed one by one. Fire filled the bridge. Crew members were thrown from their seats as the ship began to fall apart. In his final moments, Admiral Korvac looked out the viewport. Through the flames and smoke, he saw the strange ship slowly drift closer. Its hull bore old, faded markings, letters in an ancient tongue, USS Vengeance. The ship passed silently through the wreckage, leaving no survivors, no message, nothing, only fear. Far away in the Imperial capital, alarms began to sound across the fleet network. Reports flooded in. Entire patrols gone missing, communication lines dead, colonies out of contact. No one understood what was happening. The Empire had not faced a true enemy in centuries. But tonight, something impossible had returned. The Emperor himself watched the reports from his throne room, his golden eyes narrowing as the image of the dark warship appeared on his hollow screen. "Find it," he said softly, "and destroy it." Yet deep down even he felt something he hadn't felt in his long, cruel reign, fear. Because out of nowhere a human warship had appeared, and the Empire's worst nightmare had just begun. The news of the destroyed Imperial fleet spread faster than light. In every sector, whispers filled the air. "A ghost ship," they said. "A human warship." No one believed it at first. The Zarthian Empire had erased Earth from the stars long ago. Humanity was supposed to be dust and memory. Yet now something from that forgotten past was tearing through their proud fleets as if they were nothing. In the imperial capital of Zarthis Prime, panic was carefully hidden behind lies. The High Council released an official statement calling the attacks pirate activity. But every soldier, every officer, and every citizen who had seen the reports knew better. The destroyed ships weren't victims of pirates. They were hunted, precisely, methodically, and without mercy. Inside a hidden research station orbiting a dying star, Commander Tarin Voss stared at the classified footage. The dark warship filled her screen, massive, silent, and terrifying. Its weapons glowed blue, unlike anything known to the Empire. She watched the moment it destroyed the dreadnought Vraxon, and even though she was Zarthian, her hands trembled. This can't be," she whispered. "Humans are extinct." Her assistant looked equally pale. "Then what are we looking at?" Tarin hesitated. A ghost. Or something worse. She turned off the monitor and opened a locked archive, a file banned for centuries. Inside were fragments of ancient human data. There were images of old ships, soldiers, cities, and blue oceans, memories from a world the Zarthians had burned to ash. But hidden deep within the files, she found something strange. A project name, the Last Fleet. The document spoke of human survivors, a secret colony sent into deep space before Earth's final fall. They promised that one day, when the stars were ready, they would return. Tarin's heart pounded. "They kept their promise," she muttered. Far across the stars, aboard the mysterious warship USS Vengeance, Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, watching the galaxy map before him. The faces around him were human, real living humans. Their uniforms were old Terran Navy design, updated with unknown tech. Their eyes were cold and determined. Ward spoke in a calm voice. "Target count." "4 Imperial fleets destroyed, sir," replied his second officer, Lieutenant Harrow. "Minimal casualties. Enemy communication remains in chaos." Ward nodded. "Good. They should fear the dark." He turned toward the main screen, which displayed the Imperial capital glowing faintly in the distance. "They thought they ended us," he said quietly. "They forgot we learn from pain." The crew didn't speak. Every one of them carried the same scar, the memory of what the Empire did to their ancestors. Their mission wasn't conquest. "It was justice, sir," Harrow said, breaking the silence. "We've intercepted a transmission from inside the Empire. It's using an old Terran code." Ward's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." The message played with heavy static, but a voice came through, female, desperate, and sharp. "This is Commander Tarin Voss of the Imperial Science Directorate. I know who you are. I can help you. The Empire must fall, but I want safe passage for my people." Ward leaned forward. "Is Zarthian offering help?" Harrow frowned. "It could be a trap," Ward smiled slightly. "It usually is." He ordered the signal traced. The coordinates pointed to a small moon orbiting a red dwarf star. "A remote research base. Prepare the jump," he said. "If she's lying, we'll know soon enough." Moments later, the Vengeance entered hyperspace, leaving behind trails of blue light. On the moon, Tarin watched the skies nervously. Her station was small, hidden from Imperial sensors. She had risked everything to send that message. The Empire would call her a traitor, but she no longer cared. She had seen too much. The Empire's cruelty had no end, and the thought of a living human fleet gave her something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Suddenly, her sensors went wild. A gravitational wave passed over the base. A massive shadow appeared in the sky above. "The Vengeance!" Tarin gasped. They came. The warship descended silently, its hull gleaming like dark steel fire. A hatch opened, and a boarding craft glided down. Tarin stepped back as armed humans entered the room. Their armor was strange, old design but powerful. Then a tall man walked in, Captain Ward. His presence filled the room. His eyes, sharp and calm, studied her for a long moment. "So," he said slowly, "you're the one who called us?" Tarin nodded, trying not to show fear. You're real, she whispered. Humans. You're alive. Ward's expression didn't change. Alive and angry. She handed him a data chip. I have information. The Empire is building something. A weapon. They call it Project Oblivion. It's designed to erase entire star systems. They plan to use it against you. Ward took the chip, his eyes narrowing. Then we'll stop them. Taryn hesitated. You don't understand. It's powered by something ancient. Something even you may fear. The galaxy was no longer silent. After the destruction of several Imperial fleets, fear spread like wildfire through the Zarthian Empire. The once mighty rulers of hundreds of worlds now whispered in fear of a ghost from the past, a human warship that appeared from nowhere and vanished into shadows. Inside the Imperial Palace, the High Council gathered around a holographic display showing burning ships and broken fleets. The Emperor's golden eyes blazed with fury. One ship, he hissed. One ship has done what 1,000 rebellions could not. Find them. Tear the stars apart if you must. While the Empire searched the skies, Commander Taryn Voss sat in the quiet corner of the human ship USS Vengeance, staring at the strange technology around her. The walls hummed with soft blue light, and the air felt alive. It was unlike anything the Empire had ever built. These humans had gone far beyond what their old world once knew. Captain Elias Ward stood before her, his arms folded behind his back. His voice was calm but carried power. You risked your life to contact us. Why? Taryn met his gaze. Because I've seen what the Empire is building. Project Oblivion is almost complete. It's not a weapon. It's a genocide machine. It can erase entire systems in one strike. They plan to use it against you. Ward's expression darkened. And you helped build it? Taryn's voice cracked slightly. Yes. But I didn't know what it truly was. When I found out, it was already too late. Ward walked closer, his boots echoing on the metal floor. So you want to help us destroy it? Why should I trust you? Because I hate what my people have become, she said softly. And because if we don't stop it now, there will be nothing left to save, human or Zarthian. For a long moment, Ward said nothing. The bridge was silent except for the distant hum of the ship. Finally, he spoke. Very well. You'll help us. But if you betray us, Taryn gave a sad smile, you won't need to kill me. The Empire will. Later, in the war room, the crew gathered around a holographic star map. Taryn pointed to a small cluster of red dots. This is where Project Oblivion is being constructed, inside a gas giant called Charon 7. It's heavily shielded, impossible to scan from outside. Lieutenant Harrow frowned. How do we get close without being seen? Taryn typed commands into the console. There's an old supply corridor for mining drones. It's narrow, but your ship could slip through if you stay in stealth mode. Ward nodded. We'll do it. Prepare the jump. As the Vengeance entered hyperspace, Taryn sat quietly near the observation deck. Through the glass, she watched the stars stretch into streams of light. These humans were unlike the monsters her government had described. They were disciplined, focused, but behind their eyes she saw deep pain. Lieutenant Harrow approached her. You're quiet. I'm thinking, she said softly. For your captain, he doesn't fight for conquest, does he? Harrow shook his head. No, he fights because he remembers what they did to us. To Earth. When the ship exited hyperspace, the scene before them was breathtaking and terrifying. Charon 7 filled the view. A massive swirling planet of golden clouds and lightning storms. Deep within its layers, the Empire's secret base glowed faintly, hidden under thick energy shields. Begin the infiltration, Ward ordered. The Vengeance slipped into the storm, its hull cloaked. Thunder and plasma flashed across the sky. They moved slowly, carefully, avoiding Imperial patrols. Inside the Imperial base, alarms suddenly blared. Unidentified energy signature detected. A technician shouted, "Find it!" barked the commander. But before they could react, the Vengeance decloaked, its blue energy cannons charging. With a single strike, it cut through the outer shield and destroyed the defense towers. Deploy drones, Ward commanded. Hundreds of small attack drones flew out, raining fire on the base. The Empire's ships scrambled to respond, but they were outmatched. The human technology was too advanced, too fast. Taryn watched the destruction with mixed feelings. So much death, she murmured. Ward replied coldly, They started this. We're just finishing it. The Vengeance's sensors locked onto the core of Project Oblivion. The readings made even Ward pause. "That energy signature," he whispered. "It's human." Taryn turned to him in shock. "What do you mean?" "The power source," Ward said, his eyes narrowing. "It's based on old Terran quantum cores, technology that vanished with Earth." Suddenly an alarm echoed through the ship. Multiple hyperspace signatures inbound. "Imperial reinforcements!" The Vengeance fired up its engines, weaving through explosions. Enemy cruisers filled the sky, unleashing plasma storms. The entire gas giant shook with fire. "Captain!" Harrow shouted. "Shields down to 40%. "Keep firing!" Ward yelled back. But as the ship turned to escape, Taryn's console beeped, a message from the Empire. Her face went pale. "They know I'm here. They've branded me a traitor." Ward gave her a sharp look. "Then you have nowhere to go but with us." She hesitated only a second, then nodded. "So then I'm with you." The Vengeance fired its main cannon one last time, striking the core of the base. A blinding explosion followed as the entire structure collapsed into the gas clouds below. The ship rocketed upward, escaping just as the planet's surface erupted with fire. When the light faded, only smoke and silence remained. On the bridge, Ward stood watching the burning world below. "One base down," he said quietly, "but they'll come for us now." Taryn stepped beside him. "You don't understand," she whispered. "That wasn't their only weapon." Ward turned to her. "What do you mean?" She met his eyes with fear. "There's another one, and it's already finished." The explosion of Charon 7 was seen across half the galaxy. Billions of tons of gas burned bright, painting the stars gold and red. In the Imperial capital, the Emperor watched the fiery storm from his throne room. His claws dug into the armrest, his voice cold as stone. "They destroyed one of our sacred worlds," he said. "They think they can win a war against the Empire." His generals stood silent. No one dared to answer. The Emperor slowly rose. "Begin Project Oblivion. No more waiting. Prepare the weapon." Far away, the USS Vengeance drifted silently through a nebula cloud. Sparks flickered across its damaged hull. The crew worked without rest, repairing systems and counting the cost of their last battle. The victory at Charon 7 had been brutal. Too many had died. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, staring at the broken view screen. He said nothing, just listened to the hum of the engines. Lieutenant Harrow stepped forward. "Sir, outer hull repairs are at 60%. Weapons are stable, but shields are still weak," Ward nodded. "And Commander Voss?" "She's in the lab, sir." Still decrypting the files she took from the base, Ward turned away. "Tell her to hurry. The Empire won't stay quiet for long." In the science bay, Taryn Voss worked quickly, her fingers flying over the console. Blue holographic codes filled the air. She had uncovered more data about Project Oblivion, and what she found chilled her blood. When Ward entered, she didn't look up. "You were right," she said quietly. "The Empire used old human technology. But it's worse than I thought. The energy core isn't just based on Terran science, it's powered by human DNA." Ward frowned. "Explain." "They took samples from the human prisoners during the war centuries ago. They turned our blood into fuel. That's how they built the core of Project Oblivion." For a moment, Ward couldn't speak. His jaw tightened, his voice low and hard. "They turned our dead into weapons," Taryn nodded. "And now that we destroyed their prototype, they'll activate the real one. The main weapon is stationed above the planet Zartha Prime, their capital. It's ready to fire." Ward stared at the star map. "Then that's where we go." The Vengeance jumped through hyperspace once more, its engines glowing like blue fire. Inside the ship, tension hung heavy in the air. Everyone knew this could be their final battle. When they arrived near Zartha Prime, the sight before them was terrifying. Thousands of Imperial warships surrounded a massive structure floating above the planet. A colossal weapon the size of a moon, its black surface shimmered with strange red light. It was Project Oblivion, fully complete. Taryn whispered, "By the stars." "They built a planet killer." Ward's eyes narrowed. "Then we kill it first." He gave the order. "Activate stealth drive. Bring us closer." The Vengeance moved like a shadow, slipping between patrols. Imperial ships scanned the area, but the humans stayed invisible. Finally, they reached the weapons defense grid. "Target the shield generators," Ward commanded. "Fire on my mark." Before he could give the order, the bridge lights flickered. A transmission appeared on the main screen. It was the Emperor himself. He leaned forward, his golden eyes filled with hate. Human, you crawl back from extinction only to die again. You have no place in this galaxy. Ward stared back coldly. We had a place until you took it from us, the Emperor smiled. And I will take it again. He raised his hand. Behind him, the planet killer began to glow with blinding red light. Energy built up at its core, charging for a single devastating strike. Sir, Harrow shouted. They're targeting us. Evasive maneuvers, Ward ordered. The Vengeance rolled sharply as a beam of crimson energy fired past, missing them by meters. The shockwave rocked the ship violently. We can't survive another shot, Harrow yelled. Then we don't let them fire again, Ward replied. Target their weapon core. All power to forward cannons. The Vengeance unleashed its full might. Blue plasma lances tore through the darkness, striking the weapon's outer shields. The USS Vengeance floated in the cold silence of deep space, its hull scarred and broken from the last battle. Half the lights were dead, the crew exhausted but alive. For days they worked without rest, repairing what they could and mourning those they lost. Every deck carried the smell of burned metal and the echo of sacrifice. Captain Elias Ward stood near the cracked viewport, watching the distant stars. His reflection looked tired, older, but his eyes still burned with purpose. The Empire had survived their last strike. Project Oblivion was damaged, but not destroyed. And now the Empire was preparing for revenge. Lieutenant Harrow approached. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting strange activity. Multiple hyperspace signatures are forming nearby. Ward turned. Imperial? Harrow shook his head. No, sir. The energy patterns are human. For a second, no one spoke. The bridge crew exchanged shocked looks. Terran Voss, who had been working at the console, looked up in disbelief. That can't be. You're the last human ship in existence, aren't you? Before Ward could answer, the ship's radar lit up. 3 massive ships emerged from hyperspace, black, angular, and powerful. Each one carried old Terran markings faded by time. Their hulls bore a symbol unseen for centuries, a silver eagle with spread wings. Harrow whispered, They're human. Sir, they're really human. A voice came through the comms, strong and commanding. This is Admiral Helena Cross of the USS Retribution. To any surviving Terran vessel, welcome back to the war. Ward's eyes widened slightly. Patch her through. The hologram of a tall woman appeared on the bridge, dressed in dark blue armor with sharp eyes and silver hair. She looked at Ward and smiled faintly. Captain Elias Ward, you've done well. The Empire bleeds because of you. Ward crossed his arms. Admiral Cross, I thought the Retribution was destroyed during the Exodus. Cross shook her head. No, we went dark, waiting, watching. You woke the galaxy, Ward. Now humanity awakens with it. Terran watched the exchange silently, uneasy. Something about the Admiral's tone felt cold, almost hungry. Ward said, We came to stop the Empire, not to rule it. Cross's smile faded. You still believe in peace? After what they did to Earth? She leaned closer. The Zarthians must burn. Every world, every ship, every bloodline. Only then will humanity be safe, Ward frowned. That's not justice. That's revenge. Revenge built this fleet, she replied sharply, and it's the only thing that will save our kind. Before Ward could respond, alarms sounded again. More hyperspace signatures appeared, dozens, then hundreds. All human. Massive ships of every design emerged from the void. Old carriers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, all reborn from hidden colonies. Harrow whispered, It's an entire fleet, Cross spoke proudly. For centuries we waited in the dark corners of the galaxy. Now we rise. The Empire's era ends tonight. The fleet began forming battle lines, preparing to strike the Imperial Heartworlds. Ward's crew watched in awe and fear as the scale of humanity's return became clear. Taryn stepped beside Ward. She's going to destroy everything, she said quietly, not just the Empire. Innocent worlds too. Ward looked at her, his jaw tight. I know. That's not the future I want for us. Moments later, the Retribution hailed them again. Captain Ward, you and your ship will join the main attack. The target is Zartha Prime, no survivors. That's an order. Ward's voice was calm but firm. With respect, Admiral, I don't take orders from someone who fights for vengeance. The Admiral's expression hardened. Then you're standing in the way of humanity's rebirth. The transmission ended abruptly. The Retribution and its fleet began to move toward the Imperial capital. The The stars glowed with the engines of war. The Vengeance stayed behind, silent. Harrow turned to Ward. "Sir, what do we do?" Ward didn't answer at first. He stared at the star map, watching both sides prepare for destruction. "If she destroys Zartha Prime, billions will die, both human and Zarthian. We'll become the very thing we fought against." Taryn stepped closer. "Then stop her." Ward looked at her. "One ship against hundreds? That's suicide." She met his eyes. "You've done the impossible before." A quiet smile crossed Ward's face. "Then let's do it again." He turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations. We are going after the Retribution." The crew stared at him, stunned. Harrow spoke softly. "Sir, we'll be fighting our own kind." Ward nodded. "Maybe. But if we don't, there'll be no galaxy left worth saving." The Vengeance's engines roared to life, blue fire lighting the darkness. The ship turned sharply, heading straight toward the human fleet. Inside the Retribution, Admiral Cross watched the Imperial system ahead. Her eyes were cold as she gave the order. "Prepare all weapons. The age of humanity begins now." At that same moment, the Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace right behind her flagship. Harrow looked at Ward. "Sir, if we do this, there's no turning back." Ward's voice was steady. There never was. The Vengeance accelerated toward the Retribution as thousands of human ships opened fire on the Empire. Explosions filled the stars, painting them red and gold. The final war for the galaxy had begun. The stars burned like fire as the human and Imperial fleets clashed across the void. Thousands of ships filled the darkness, their beams of light cutting through space like blades. Explosions spread in every direction, silent, deadly, and endless. The war that humanity had dreamed of ending had finally begun, but not the way Captain Elias Ward ever wanted. On the bridge of the USS Vengeance, red warning lights flashed across every screen. The ship shook violently as nearby vessels exploded. The crew shouted over the alarms, struggling to keep control. Lieutenant Harrow yelled, "Shields at 40%. We can't take much more of this." Ward stood firm, gripping the railing. "Stay on course. We're going after the Retribution." Taryn Voss turned from the navigation console, her voice tight with fear. "Sir, if we go near that ship, it'll tear us apart. The Retribution's cannons could destroy 10 ships with one shot." Ward's eyes were cold. "Then we aim for her heart before she aims for ours." Outside, the Retribution, the massive flagship of Admiral Helena Cross, moved like a god of war. Its weapons tore through Imperial fleets with merciless precision. For every Imperial ship that fell, another dozen appeared from hyperspace, desperate to stop the human armada. But Cross didn't stop. She didn't hesitate. Her fleet burned through the Empire's defenses, moving straight towards Zartha Prime. The Empire's capital world, inside her command chamber, Admiral Cross stood tall, watching the chaos unfold on the holographic screen. Her eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "After today, no Empire will ever threaten humanity again," she said. Her first officer hesitated. "Admiral, what about the civilians on Zartha Prime? Billions of them." Cross cut him off coldly. "They are the Empire. There are no innocents in tyranny." Back on the Vengeance, Ward heard the same words through intercepted transmissions. He clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. Taryn looked at him. "She's lost herself, Captain. She doesn't see what she's become." Ward's voice was quiet but full of steel. "Then it's our job to remind her what humanity means." He turned to the crew. "All power to engines. Prepare for ramming speed if we have to." Harrow stared at him. "Sir, that's suicide." Ward gave a small smile. "Maybe, but if we don't stop her, the galaxy dies anyway." The Vengeance accelerated, diving through the battlefield. It weaved between burning ships, dodging explosions and debris. A Zarthian cruiser tried to intercept, but Ward ordered, "Fire main cannons." Blue plasma erupted from the Vengeance, splitting the enemy ship in two. They broke through the chaos, heading straight for the Retribution. Inside her flagship, Cross turned as alarms began to blare. "Report. Admiral, it's the Vengeance. They're approaching fast. Collision course." Cross narrowed her eyes. "Of course it's him." She opened a channel. "Captain Ward, still trying to be the hero, I see." Ward's voice came through, calm but firm. "Helena, you don't have to do this. You'll destroy everything we were trying to protect." Cross laughed bitterly. "Protect? We spent centuries running, hiding, dying like ghosts in the dark. I won't hide anymore. The Empire dies tonight." Ward replied, and after that? Who dies next? Anyone who stands in your way. That's not the future humanity deserves. Her tone hardened. You sound just like the old Terran Council, weak. You don't win wars with mercy. Ward looked out at her ship in the distance. But you lose your soul without it. He cut the channel. Lock weapons on her engines. We're going in. The Vengeance dove beneath the Retribution, its cannons firing in rapid bursts. Explosions rippled across the massive ship's hull. Cross ordered her gunners to return fire, and brilliant red beams tore across space, narrowly missing Ward's ship. The Vengeance's bridge shook violently. Sparks flew, consoles shattered, but still the crew fought on. Taryn gripped her station. Direct hit to our thrusters. We're losing control. Ward shouted, reroute power to stabilizers. Don't stop firing. The Vengeance rose again, coming face to face with the Retribution's command tower. Through the cracked viewport, Ward could almost see Cross standing there, defiant, unstoppable. Target her bridge, Ward ordered. Harrow hesitated. Sir, she's human. So are we, Ward said quietly. And we still have a choice. He pressed the firing control,